Hi and welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. My name is Nicole with morningchores.com and today I'm giving an introduction on how to set up a baby chick brooder. If you're new to the channel, we welcome you. We would love for you to hit that subscribe button if you're interested in gardening, homesteading, DIY, and in regards to this video, chicken care, then I think you're gonna like what you see. So definitely hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up on the likes, and let's continue on. Today we are doing a spin-off from my introduction to chicken care video, so if you missed that video, I will link it in the description box below. But today I'm gonna share my top 5 tips on how to set up a baby chick brooder. Before we get into the meat of the video, I wanted to go ahead and share the book that I will be referencing. This book is called The Small Scale Poultry Flock by Harvey Usuri. This is a really great how-to book. Talks about everything from what types of breeds you should get, everything about the chicken, the coop, the feed. If you're new to chickens, I highly recommend this book, and this is the book that I will mainly be referencing. Something that you need to consider before you even begin to set up your baby chick brooder, and that is location. It's really important that wherever you choose to raise your baby chicks, you choose someplace that is warm and dry. These are very important elements for baby chicks because they're babies. Just like a human baby, they need to be kept warm and dry. If you have a wood stove, this is an ideal spot to have your baby chick brooder. We do have a wood stove, and that would really be the ideal place to keep the baby chicks, but it's too hard to separate the baby chicks from the dogs where our wood stove is. That leads me to the other thing you need to consider, and that is your pets. If you have indoor pets, cats or dogs, you need to keep them isolated, separated, away from each other, because the less stress that your baby chicks are under, the better they will do health-wise. So we want to make sure that they feel safe in their little home before we transition them to the coop. So if you have indoor dogs or cats, try to find some way to keep them separated. You can use baby gates. If you have a separate room where you can shut the door to keep the baby chicks by themselves, but yet it's still warm in there, that's something to consider. I'm sitting in my laundry room because this is where we decided the best place was for our baby chicks. The first thing that you need for your baby chick brooder is some type of container to keep them in. A lot of people will use a cardboard box. That is a very cheap alternative, cheap way to house your baby chicks until you transition them outside. Keep in mind you need a box that has tall walls because as they grow, they're gonna get a little bit bigger. The one downside to cardboard is that if you don't change the bedding often enough, then that bottom layer of the cardboard box can get damp, which could cause the floor to become damp. So it's something to consider. If you change the bedding often enough, and you could also maybe place a tarp under that box, and it might not be an issue, but it is something to think about. Another thing you can do is actually purchase brooder boxes. They also have brooder panels made in plastic or a more heavy duty cardboard. These just click together and there you go, you have a brooder. What I'm doing is I am using a plastic container. I already had this in my basement. It's long and deep and wide. I think it's going to be perfect. I've seen a lot of people use these and I already had it, so I didn't have to pay a single dime. It was a great way to save some money. So as they get bigger, I may put some wire mesh on top so that way they can't get out, but yet they still have good airflow, and then the heat lamp can still keep them warm through it. The next item you need to consider is bedding. Your baby chicks need something that's comfortable to move around in, to lay in, and scratch in. So one thing that's recommended, and it's recommended in the book that I mentioned earlier in the video, is pine shavings. So this is what I purchased. I got it from my local feed store. And I did want to mention here that if you have a local feed store, this is a great place to go to just get information. I talk to them all the time and ask them questions, and usually they're very knowledgeable about taking care of animals and livestock and different things like that. And I'm fortunate enough to have a feed store that's willing to work with me and get me more natural products. So definitely head to your local feed store because there's lots of information there. Another bedding option is shredded newspaper. Some people use this because it's a more economical choice, especially if you get the newspaper or you know people you can get newspapers from. But if you do go this route, make sure that you shred it. You don't want to put sheets of newspaper in your brooder. Same with cardboard. You don't want to just layer it with cardboard. You need to use something that's, like I said, shredded paper or pine shavings or something like that. Heat is one of the most important elements of your baby chick brooder, and it's really important that you keep it at 95 degrees Fahrenheit roughly for the first week, and then you decrease by 5 degrees until you're ready to transition them outside. So if you have a wood stove is a great heat source, especially if you don't have any indoor pets and you have some way of keeping your baby chicks near the wood stove. This is what they used to do back in the day before electricity. So that is highly, highly recommended. If you can't do that, the next option is using a heat lamp. This is a heat lamp bulb. It's a 250 watt, 120 volt bulb. They come in clear or red. I purchased the clear, and I got this from my local feed store. And then you need, of course, something to put the bulb in. This is a heat lamp I bought from Premier. I will have it all linked below, but this is a little overkill for a brooder. But the reason I got this one is I wanted something to transition to the coop. I didn't want to have to buy all these extra things. And what I love about this one is it has this plastic guard. So if this were to ever be bumped over or knocked down in the chicken coop and this fell on straw or bedding, the bulb is protected so that hot bulb won't touch the straw and catch fire. So that is the main reason I went with this one. And then you can hang it wherever you want to hang it in the coop, or in my case, over the brooder. Next component of your brooder is water. Your chicks need a clean source of water at all times. I purchased this again from my feed store. They sell these online. But what I like about this one is the water is completely enclosed. It's made of plastic, so it's easy to clean. And it's highly recommended by the book that I shared with you earlier that the water be lukewarm. You don't want it ice cold. You don't want it too hot. Just right. And the last important component is your feed with your feeder. So here I have a baby chick feeder. It looks very similar to the water I showed you. It just has a different base. Again, it's made of plastic. It's easy to keep clean. And you always want to make sure that they have good feed and that their feeder is full. Let's talk a little bit about chick feed. So when you start out your baby chicks, you need to start them out on a chick starter, chick feed. There's a lot of information about this and it can get overwhelming, but basically there are 3 tiers of chick starter. There is conventional, there's non-GMO, and there is organic. And you also have to consider whether you want medicated chick feed or non-medicated chick feed. And this really just depends on personal preference, what you want out of your chickens. Do you want them to produce an organic egg? Do you want it to just be non-GMO? Or are you just trying to look to save as much money as possible and get the cheapest egg out of that chicken? So these are some questions that you need to consider. And again, the book I recommended earlier in the video has all kinds of information about this. For me personally, I am starting my chicks out on a non-GMO, unmedicated chick starter. So there is no medication added to this chick starter at all, and it's non-GMO because those things are really important to me. And I purchased this from my local feed store. So again, if you have a feed store in your area, just go in there, start asking questions, and they can help you. If they don't have what you want, they can probably order it for you. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. Most of the products will be linked in the description box below, so you can check those out. Be sure to stay tuned for next week's video. You can also head over to morningchores.com where you'll find all kinds of articles on homesteading, gardening, DIY, chicken care, and much, much more. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.